that '08 season, that team, I always say this, but by the end of that year, that South Carolina game, I'm still convinced that team could have played with anybody in the country. I don't care who it was. They would have,
with Ricky at quarterback. Yes.
Yeah. With Stan and Sean Green doing what he was doing. And,
the skill position talent was out of this world. I mean, with DJK and obviously Tony Moyaki at tight end and Brian Bulaga on the line, right?
You had some great players. You had Brandon Myers, 10-year NFL guy. And you had Sean Green, and Sean was just having this fabulous season. And I remember the students were doing a green out that week.
All the green T-shirts.
So they had all green T-shirts. And here's the fun thing, and it wasn't a fun thing for me, but I had an issue with my gallbladder, and it was really inflamed. And during that week on Wednesday, I had to have my gallbladder out. So, my doctor was not thrilled with the idea of me, even going to, he goes, well, you could go cover the game if you want. And I, of course, wanted to do it because I just, it's number 3 Penn State and they're undefeated. And, I needed to go. So I went and I covered the game. And I always used to walk down, just kind of a habit, because I'd sat next to Bob Brooks. And Bob was older, and I'd always just want to walk down with Bob, make sure he got to the locker room okay. Just kind of, he was a dear friend. Nobody I respected it more than Bob Brooks. I mean, he saw now Kinnick play football, for gosh sakes, he's such an awesome guy. He'd seen everything, and he still had such a great memory. And whenever I had a question, he was always there to answer it. And so Bob and I go down there, and Bob has that giant tape recorder. He had the old school one, not these little handheld digital things. He had the old, you got to take 2 hands to carry this tape recorder around. And, all he was missing was the hat that had the press thing on the side of it. Right. He was old school. And so we're standing down there on the sidelines. I'll never forget, because Mike Elgin, former Hawkeye, was standing down there. He was not, he was not obviously done playing, but he was just there on the sidelines as a former player. And Daniel Murray makes that field goal, and I'm like, I'm still kind of compromised from a physical standpoint. I wasn't going to be able to take a blow very well.
Right.
And we're standing there, and people are just pouring over the sidelines. Onto the sidelines and onto the field, and there's still 1 second left.
Yeah, they had to clear the field.
So, but then I look over, and Bob is gone. I don't know where Bob is at. Then I look over, and he's laying on the ground. And Mike Elgin and I pick him up, and I grabbed Bob, and I said, "Bob, let's go." And found the great John Streif and Greg Morris, and we got Bob to the locker room. And he was dinged up a little bit. I mean, he got dropped. But God bless him. But
I guess we can laugh about that now.
Yeah, but that's the thing I'll always remember about that is the Bob Brooks story of that.
Yeah. And I'll just share my 2 cents from that game. And we were talking ahead of the show. I was 12 years old. If I'm doing my math correct. But it was one of my most memorable Iowa games in my life. And the Sean Green T-shirts. I've got a little placard up here at the house of an artist rendering of Tyler Sash and Brett Greenwood. And of course, I remember that game because of, for one, Tyler Sash's huge interception on Darryl Clark, which led to that final drive. So there's lots of reasons for that game to be kind of memorable, if I recall. And again, I haven't watched that game back in many, many eons, but was there a safety or a defensive touchdown on a fumbled snap early in that game?
I can't remember that.
The defense, obviously, and what was the final score? Do you know, Tom? It was a low scoring game.
It was the 08 final score was 24-23.
Yeah. So, I mean, you got a pretty typical Iowa Penn State score.